Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Ahmed Ali, and this is the second video of our academic writing series. Today, inshallah, we're going to discuss and analyze the mistakes in one of the essays written by a very excellent candidate. This is the prompt itself. Let's read it quickly. The first car appeared on British roads in 1888. By the year 2000, there may be as many as 29 million vehicles on British roads. Alternative forms of transport should be encouraged and international laws introduced to control car ownership and use. To what extent do you agree or disagree? This is clearly an opinion essay. The first thing you need to highlight in order to start giving a response to that question is to understand what the question requires from the candidate. Here, clearly, it requires the candidate to show an opinion on car ownership and use. Should we control car ownership and use, or we should just let it to everybody to decide whether to have a car and use it? All right, so that's the topic itself that we need to focus on. Now let's scroll down to the response written by the candidate. That's the introduction. Since the introduction of the pioneer vehicle in England, the count of cars has been mushrooming, reaching around 29 million in the year 2000. The candidate here, when he said reaching around 29 million in the year 2000, let us go back to the question and see what the question is telling us. The question states that by the year 2000, there may be as many as 29 million on British roads. The question you should ask yourself here, and this is of course the problem that I highlighted, is problem with paraphrasing. Does this statement confirm that the number will reach 29 million? Does it say that by the year 2000, the number will be 29 million? The answer is no, because the statement says there may be as many as 29 million. How did the candidate paraphrase this? The candidate said, has been mushrooming, reaching around 29 million in the year 2000. So the candidate is like gave a confirmation. The candidate changed the meaning that was suggested in the question, in the prompt itself. All right, and that's why this is a mistake in paraphrasing. So alternatively, if I want to paraphrase the above statement, I should say, for example, and it's expected to reach 29 million, and it's forecast to be, so you have to find out an alternative, a synonym for maybe. It will probably be, it is forecast to be, it is expected to be, all right? It is anticipated to be or to reach 29 million in the year 2000. That's the first mistake. Let's go on reading. In my opinion, I strongly believe that different means of transport ought to be used instead of cars. All right, here the candidate is expressing his opinion. And again, we have a very fatal mistake here when the candidate expresses the opinion using two different expressions. Either you say in my opinion, or you say I strongly believe, but don't mention both. Don't say in my opinion I believe, because this is a repetition, and if you write like that, you are being redundant. We call this redundancy in English. All right, so fine. So if the candidate corrected this part and deleted one of these expressions, and we stop here, this is for me, or this would be an excellent introduction for me. Now let's read the third statement that the candidate added. as far as I'm concerned, the international community also needs to collaborate in efforts for passing laws to systemize car possession and operation. All right. What has the candidate done here is that he's suggesting solutions. He is showing how cars should be controlled, or car ownership should be controlled. And this is again another problem, because when I look at this introduction, and if I want to analyze it, and if I want to highlight the thesis statement, definitely the thesis statement is the statement in which the candidate expressed his opinion, which is the second statement here. In my opinion, different means of transport ought to be used instead of cars. What I believe is that we should stop here. This should be the end of the introduction. If you want to explain, if you want to give more information, the place where you give more information, where you give details, is not in the introduction, but it is in the body. And if you want to suggest solutions, you can even include this in the conclusion, not in the introduction, and not after the thesis statement. All right. Always ensure that the last statement in your introduction is the thesis statement. Don't write the thesis statement and then follow the thesis statement with some details that should be included in the introduction. All right? So that's my comment on the introduction. Now let's discuss the first body. As I told you, the candidate is excellent. His language is great. If we just read one sentence as an example, first of all, car ownership and use ought to be controlled in order to protect the environment and lessen the unwanted effects of global warming. It's needless to mention that the excessive number of cars that run on fossil fuel has tremendously affected the environment negatively as a result of so and so and so. Okay, so here, great, the candidate is explaining, is supporting his argument. That's fine. Let's scroll down here. Emission of carbon dioxide, and could put us one step ahead. This is a very important point to consider. Please, in academic writing, avoid at all costs the usage of these pronouns: you, we, us, your, our, okay? Because you should be objective in how you write the topic. I know that in some, and I saw this actually, unfortunately, in some samples, even in Cambridge books themselves, the samples that they provide at the end of the book, some of the samples include these pronouns, but I'm assuring you, this is informal, and you're going to be penalized if you use these pronouns. You can use, of course, I, if you are expressing your opinion, if this is an opinion essay or discussion with opinion, or advantages and disadvantages where you have to decide which is better, that's fine. But using you, using we, all right, this is informal, and this should be avoided. Thus, using less cars shall reduce usage of fossil fuel. Here, a problem with articles. Shall reduce the usage of fossil fuels. And prioritize using more environment-friendly power sources. Here, when I look at the highlighted verb, prioritize, what's the subject of this verb in that statement? Using less cars. Using less cars shall reduce and prioritize. The problem is, semantically, meaning-wise, this is incorrect, because who has the authority to prioritize? The subject of this verb should be a human, should be somebody who has priorities and chooses what's to come first. Using less cars does not prioritize. All right. So there is a problem with the expression or with the delivery of meaning here. If we go on, more environment-friendly power sources, such hydropower plants. Of course, here it should be such as, like, or such as. And wind power turbines, the thing that will safeguard the environment. Again, we have a problem here, the word the thing. The thing is, again, there are words that are very informal and that should be avoided in academic writing. Words, as I told you, you, we, thing, good, bad, all right? Try to use synonyms that convey a more accurate meaning. So the word the thing itself is informal. And secondly, we have a very dangerous mistake here. This is clearly a run-on sentence. Run-on sentence. What is a run-on sentence? A run-on sentence when you put two clauses together and you just join them either with a comma only or without a comma at all, as we have here. So solar power farms and wind power turbines, sorry, let's go back to the beginning. Using more environment-friendly power sources such as so and so and so, and wind power turbines, the thing that will safeguard the environment. So here we have a clause starting from using, so, and until the examples that finished. This is one clause, okay? Using less cars shall reduce so and so and so, and prioritize so and so and so. That's fine. If we stop here until the at the word turbines, that's fine. But here we have another clause that followed without any conjunction, without any punctuation, without any comma, like the thing that will safeguard the environment. So what's the link between this clause and the previous one? There is no link made here. Secondly, as I told you, the word the thing itself is informal. What I suggest is that we put a comma and we use which will safeguard the environment. In this case, this will be a non-defining relative clause that follows the main clause, and this will be a complex sentence, right? Now let's move on. To illustrate, introducing more electric trains and high-speed monorail buses instead of cars should minimize traffic jams and protect the environment. This is a mistake in the usage of the modal verb. Is it should minimize or would minimize? Are you giving an advice here, or are you expecting something to happen? We are expecting something to happen. So we should use would minimize, all right? Not should minimize. Down, using public transport can be save everyone. Of course, it can save everyone, okay? Can save everyone. I think this is a typo. This word should be omitted. Consequently, the role of the international community is to be sought in order to pass laws and regulations to control car ownership and use. The sentence is grammatically perfect. I have no comment on the grammar here. I have a comment on the usage of the word sought. Again, meaning-wise, what should be sought? The role of the international community. Do we seek the role or do we activate the role? Again, think about it. We don't seek roles, we activate roles. So it's a problem with the word choice. Eventually, again, things, again, the problem with the choice of the word things, it's informal. Try to avoid it, try to find an alternative for that. That's the end. This is an excellent essay with, I mean, very few grammatical mistakes, just few comments for you. This could be very useful to even English teachers because these are slight mistakes. Inshallah, in the coming videos, we will see more essays that have more mistakes from normal candidates inshallah. I hope this was useful for you, and I wish you the best of luck and see you inshallah in the third video. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.